Before you can think like a billionaire, you must understand a universal truth. Billionaires are not defined by money. They're defined by psychology, decisions, and patterns of behavior that separate them from the rest of the world. They think differently. They act differently. They respond to fear, risk, failure, and opportunity differently. This audiobook summary is designed to immerse your listener into that elite mental world. Not to worship wealth, but to understand the mindset behind creating value, solving problems, and living a life of purpose, abundance, and freedom. What follows is not generic motivational advice. It is a deep dive into the psychology and habits that shape billionaires across the world. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Understanding how billionaires think from day one. From the very first day of their journey, before they earn their first dollar, before anyone knows their name, and long before the world labels them as billionaires, these individuals begin thinking differently. Their mindset does not suddenly appear after success. It forms long before success becomes visible. To understand how billionaires think from day one, you must step inside the invisible world of their minds, the world of unseen decisions, quiet disciplines, inner confidence, and relentless imagination that fuels their rise. Their trajectory is not the product of luck or rare genius, but a set of mental patterns, emotional frameworks, and personal philosophies that shape every choice they make. In the early days, often the most painful, unclear, and lonely moments, a billionaire's mind is marked by an almost unreasonable belief in possibility. Where most people look at their circumstances and see limitations, a future billionaire sees an unfinished story. They do not view their present situation as a life sentence, but as a starting point. This belief is not a loud or boastful claim. Often, it is a quiet conviction that whispers inside them, telling them that they are capable of more, meant for more, and willing to work for more. They understand that the journey is long, filled with setbacks and uncertainty, but they also understand that time is their ally, not their enemy. Every step forward, no matter how small, builds upon the last, and over years, this compounding effort becomes unstoppable momentum. From the first day, billionaires think in terms of value rather than compensation. While the average person thinks about earning money, a billionaire thinks about creating something meaningful, useful, transformative. They ask themselves, what can I offer that improves someone's life? Instead of how can I get paid more? This shift, from earning to creating, is what separates them from the crowd. They understand that money is a reflection of value delivered at scale. They look for problems to solve, inefficiencies to improve, experiences to enhance, and opportunities that others ignore. This laser focus on value creation fuels their ideas and guides their actions. Whether they are building a business, designing technology, or creating entertainment, they think about impact first, profit second. Paradoxically, this is what eventually leads them to immense wealth. Another defining trait is their relationship with learning. From day one, billionaires treat themselves as lifelong students. They are endlessly curious. They ask questions, explore new fields, challenge existing beliefs, and seek knowledge beyond their immediate interests. Many spend years reading, listening, observing, experimenting, and studying people who have succeeded before them. They are not satisfied with superficial understanding. They want depth in skill, depth in experience, and depth in insight. Their hunger for learning is not motivated by academic achievement or external reward, but by an inner drive to grow. They know that the mind is their greatest asset and that sharpening it daily is one of the most powerful investments they can make. Understanding how billionaires think requires recognizing their unique relationship with failure. Most people fear failure as something shameful or defeating. But billionaires view failure as a natural and necessary part of progress. They expect it, study it, and even welcome it. Every mistake is a message, every setback a signal, every obstacle a teacher. They do not crumble under disappointment because they see it as feedback, not finality. When something doesn't work, they adjust, not retreat. This resilience begins on day one, long before success becomes visible. They build emotional muscle through repeated experiences of trial and error, learning adaptability, patience, and strategic decision-making. This mindset transforms failure from an enemy into a collaborator. A billionaire's thinking is also shaped by an extraordinary degree of long-term vision. While most people think in terms of days or weeks, billionaires think in terms of years and decades. They are willing to plant seeds today that may not bear fruit for a long time. Their patience is not passive, it is strategic. They work steadily toward a vision so clear that temporary discomfort, criticism, uncertainty, or slow results do not deter them. They know where they are going. Their vision becomes a mental blueprint, a compass that guides their actions, ensuring that even small daily tasks are aligned with long-term goals. This ability to see beyond the present allows them to make bold decisions that others are too afraid to attempt. From the earliest stages, billionaires develop an intentional relationship with time. They understand from day one that time is the most valuable currency they possess. They do not waste it on activities that drain their focus, energy, or creativity. Instead, they prioritize relentlessly. They eliminate distractions, manage their attention, and direct their effort toward what moves the needle. While others drift through their days reacting to events, billionaires design their days around priorities. They create routines, build structure, and protect their mental clarity. They understand that every hour they spend today shapes the future they will experience tomorrow. By mastering their time, they master their destiny. Another essential component of billionaire thinking is emotional control. They do not allow fear, doubt, or temporary emotions to dictate their decisions. They have the ability to stay calm in stressful situations, remain focused in uncertainty, and maintain confidence during difficulty. This emotional stability is not innate. It is cultivated through experience and self-awareness. From day one, they train themselves to respond rather than react. They analyze situations logically, observe their emotions without being controlled by them, and make choices based on reason rather than impulse. This level of emotional intelligence becomes one of their greatest advantages as their responsibilities expand and challenges intensify. Billionaires also think differently about resources. Instead of asking, "What do I have?" they ask, "What can I find or create?" They see beyond what is available and perceive what is possible. They leverage creativity, collaboration, technology, and networks to expand their reach. They do not limit themselves to the resources in their hands. They expand their possibilities through connections, partnerships, mentors, investors, advisors, and talent. They recognize early on that the ability to gather resources is far more important than the resources themselves. This mindset allows them to scale ideas, build teams, and pursue opportunities on a larger level. Another critical aspect of their thinking is the ability to handle uncertainty. Most people seek stability and predictability. Billionaires accept the inherent uncertainty of big dreams. They understand that great opportunities rarely come with guarantees. They make peace with the unknown. They build courage not by eliminating fear, but by acting despite it. They learn to make decisions with incomplete information, trusting their analysis, instincts, and long-term vision. This comfort with uncertainty gives them a psychological advantage that allows them to act faster, innovate more boldly, and seize opportunities others overlook. From day one, billionaires think in terms of scale. They do not simply look for ways to do something. They look for ways to do it bigger, better, and broader. They ask themselves questions like, how can this reach more people? How can this operate globally? How can this be automated? How can this be multiplied? Their minds naturally gravitate toward expansion, efficiency, and leverage. This scale-oriented thinking allows them to envision possibilities that others consider impractical. Over time, this mental habit becomes a powerful driving force behind their extraordinary growth. One of the most powerful and often overlooked traits is their relationship with people. Billionaires understand early on that relationships are a form of capital. They treat people with respect, listen deeply, share value, collaborate generously, and build trust. They understand that the right conversation can unlock a breakthrough, the right partner can accelerate a vision, and the right mentor can change their entire trajectory. They do not network to collect contacts. They build relationships to exchange value and grow together. This people-centric thinking becomes a cornerstone of their rise. Billionaires also approach problem-solving differently from day one. Where most people see a problem and stop, billionaires see a problem and start. Problems excite them, not discourage them. They think, if this frustrates people, it means there is demand for a solution. They reverse engineer problems until they find the root cause, then work upward from there. Their thinking is structured, analytical, and opportunity-focused. They experiment often, test ideas quickly, and iterate until they find solutions that work. This systematic approach allows them to solve larger and more complex challenges over time. A crucial part of their mindset is self-belief, not arrogance, but quiet internal certainty. Billionaires believe in their ability to figure things out. They trust their capacity to learn, adapt, and grow. They believe their ideas matter, their dreams matter, and their efforts matter. This self-belief is not shaped by external validation. It comes from internal commitment. They learn to encourage themselves when no one else does, to push themselves when progress is slow, and to stay committed even when others doubt them. This unwavering self-belief becomes the inner engine that drives them through the early stages when success seems far away. In the beginning, billionaires also think big, but execute small. They build huge visions but take practical steps. They understand that overwhelming goals are achieved through tiny daily actions. They set milestones, break down tasks, and create processes that move them inch by inch toward their larger destination. They understand that motion creates momentum, and that momentum eventually creates transformation. This ability to blend big thinking with small action is one of the most important mental skills they develop early on. From day one, billionaires think in terms of responsibility. They do not wait for someone else to create opportunities, provide answers, or solve problems. They take ownership of their decisions, progress, failures, and direction. They understand that blame wastes time, excuses drain energy, and complaining changes nothing. Instead, they look inward. What can I do better? What can I change? What can I take control of? This ownership mindset elevates them above victims of circumstance and positions them as creators of their destiny. Another defining trait is their ability to delay gratification. While others chase quick rewards, billionaires are willing to wait. They reinvest time, money, and effort into their growth rather than seeking immediate comfort. They choose long-term gain over temporary pleasure. Their patience allows compounding to work in their favor. Compounding of skills, compounding of investments, compounding of relationships, and compounding of results. This discipline separates them from those who quit early or settle for average outcomes. From the first day of their journey, billionaires think like storytellers. They create narratives about who they are becoming, what they are building, and why their work matters. This internal story strengthens their identity and aligns their actions with their purpose. They visualize success before it arrives, feeling the emotions of victory long before it becomes real. They rehearse their future mentally until it feels familiar. This mental rehearsal reduces fear, increases clarity, and guides their decisions with unwavering confidence. Understanding how billionaires think from day one is understanding that success is rarely sudden. It is built through daily mental habits, habits of belief, discipline, focus, curiosity, resilience, vision, and emotional mastery. Their thinking is not extraordinary because they are extraordinary. They become extraordinary because of how they think. And the most incredible truth is this: their mindset is not exclusive. It is learnable. It is transferable. It can be practiced, adopted, and integrated into your own life. You can begin where they began, with belief, vision, learning, patience, courage, and relentless action. When you begin thinking like a billionaire from day one, you don't just open the door to success. You build a life driven by purpose, powered by growth, aligned with your highest potential, and capable of creating impact far beyond your imagination. Chapter 2. The Billionaire Belief System. The billionaire belief system is not about money. It is about the internal architecture of thoughts, attitudes, and psychological frameworks that shape extraordinary achievement. While most people focus on external strategies, billionaires operate from an internal worldview that guides every decision, action, and interpretation of reality. This belief system is their invisible operating manual, the hidden script powering their daily behavior long before wealth arrives. To understand it, one must imagine replacing ordinary assumptions with a completely new mental software, one that treats obstacles as puzzles, money as a tool, time as a resource more valuable than currency, and failure as a refining mechanism instead of a threat. This system can be learned, internalized, and applied by anyone willing to shift from conventional thinking to exponential thinking. At the core of the billionaire belief system lies the conviction that success is built, not inherited. Even for those who come from privilege, their ascent still demands vision, clarity, and relentless execution. They believe that wealth is simply a byproduct of value, and value itself is the outcome of solving meaningful problems. Where ordinary individuals ask for safety, billionaires ask for leverage. Where most people aim for comfort, billionaires aim for impact. This shift in internal questioning transforms their actions, because questions determine focus, and focus fuels behavior. Their minds are constantly tuned to possibilities. How can this be done better? What opportunity is hidden here? How can this idea scale beyond me? What resources can I mobilize that don't require my direct presence? These questions create new pathways of thought, and thought creates new realities. Another central pillar of this belief system is the idea that reality is negotiable. The average individual accepts circumstances as fixed. Billionaires reinterpret circumstances as temporary and influenceable. When something seems impossible, they rarely see it as a dead end. Rather, they see unmet needs, inefficient systems, or unchallenged assumptions. They question standard procedures, established norms, and traditional pathways. They do not wait for permission to innovate. This belief alone transforms ordinary individuals into revolutionaries. When you believe that everything can be redesigned, your mind stops operating in the limits of current reality and begins building the next one. The billionaire worldview is also grounded in a profound understanding of compounding, not only of money, but of skills, relationships, knowledge, decisions, and habits. They know that every small action is part of a much larger chain reaction. A single hour spent learning something new compounds into decades of improved decisions. A single introduction may open doors to thousands of future collaborations. A single product improvement may turn into a global standard. This belief in compounding means that billionaires are patient with growth, yet aggressive with action. They understand that slow beginnings often lead to exponential outcomes. They don't seek instant gratification because they are building assets, not moments. Another belief embedded deeply within billionaire psychology is the idea that time is the ultimate asset. While others chase money, billionaires chase time freedom. They treat their time as sacred, allocating it only to high-value activities and delegating everything else. They buy time using money, systems, and people. They outsource tasks that drain energy and centralize tasks that amplify it. They know that every hour spent on low-level work is an hour stolen from vision, strategy, or long-term creation. As a result, they structure their life deliberately. Their calendars are purpose-driven. Their routines are crafted, not accidental. Their focus is intentional, not reactive. They do not allow the world to pull their attention. They direct their attention toward outcomes. This belief system also involves a radical sense of personal responsibility. Billionaires do not blame circumstances, markets, governments, or competitors. They believe that life responds to their decisions, not their excuses. This does not mean that they are never frustrated. It means they understand frustration as a signal to adapt, not a justification to retreat. They believe that if something isn't working, it is their duty to rethink their approach. This mindset keeps them flexible, adaptable, and constantly evolving. While most people see responsibility as weight, billionaires see it as empowerment. Taking responsibility gives them control, and control gives them the power to shape outcomes. Deep within the billionaire belief structure is the concept that skill acquisition is destiny. They know that money doesn't flow to people, it flows to capabilities. Therefore, they obsessively upgrade their knowledge, improve their decision-making, and invest in mastery. They read, experiment, test ideas, travel, ask questions, and surround themselves with experts. They treat their brain as their primary tool for wealth creation. Every lesson becomes a future advantage. They recognize that the world rewards value creation, and value creation is the product of specialized knowledge combined with relentless action. Their belief in learning keeps them ahead of the curve, while their willingness to unlearn keeps them from becoming obsolete. Another defining belief is the power of bold thinking. Billionaires believe that small goals waste energy. They aim for goals so large that they pull new levels of performance out of them. They do not chase realistic targets. They chase transformative ones. They believe that it is easier to build something big than something small because big goals attract better people, deeper commitment, stronger motivation, and greater innovation. Their belief in boldness is why they attempt things others avoid. Fear is not something they run from. It is something they interpret as a hint that a breakthrough opportunity may be near. A crucial part of this belief system is emotional resilience. Billionaires believe that emotions are signals, not commands. They may feel fear, doubt, or frustration, but they do not let these emotions run their decisions. They have trained themselves to stay calm under pressure, detached in crises, and focused during uncertainty. This emotional control becomes a superpower during difficult periods. In contrast, most people allow emotions to determine their choices, which leads to inconsistency. Billionaires, however, act from principles, not moods. They understand that consistency wins long-term games, and emotional discipline feeds that consistency. Billionaires also carry a deep belief in long-term vision. While the world is obsessed with quick results, they are obsessed with long-term positioning. They invest in ideas that may take years to mature. They build companies that may lose money initially, but dominate industries later. They plant seeds that future generations will harvest. Their belief in long-term thinking gives them patience during slow seasons and aggression during strategic execution. Their vision acts as their compass. Every decision, partnership, and opportunity is measured against this future image. If it aligns with the vision, they pursue it. If it doesn't, they walk away without hesitation. Another powerful belief inside this system is the idea that relationships are capital. Billionaires understand that without the right network, even the best ideas remain small. They invest in people, partnerships, teams, and alliances. They know that a single strong connection can accelerate progress more than years of solo effort. They surround themselves with thinkers, doers, innovators, and strategic minds. They build trust and maintain it. They treat people as partners, not tools. This belief in social capital expands opportunities far beyond what money alone could create. They also hold a strong belief in ownership over employment. They understand that wealth grows exponentially when you own systems, companies, intellectual property, technology, or assets. They view jobs as temporary training grounds, not destinations. Their focus is on creating something that works even when they are asleep. They believe that wealth should flow to them automatically as a result of structures they built, not hours they worked. This belief alone shifts how they approach every decision. They prefer leverage over labor, equity over salary, assets over liabilities. A powerful underlying belief is that failure is data, not defeat. Billionaires do not fear failure because they do not interpret it personally. They treat each failure as a clue, a feedback mechanism telling them how to improve. They fail forward, not backward. Their failures refine strategies, sharpen instincts, strengthen resilience, and improve execution. Each setback becomes a new layer of wisdom. This belief frees them to take risks, explore new territories, and innovate without fear of embarrassment or loss. While most people avoid failure, billionaires leverage it. Finally, the billionaire belief system is driven by purpose. They believe that wealth must be tied to meaning. Without purpose, money becomes empty. With purpose, money becomes fuel. They choose missions bigger than themselves, transforming industries, solving global problems, improving lives, or creating new possibilities for humanity. This purpose keeps them energized, unstoppable, and disciplined. It gives them strength during uncertain times and clarity during chaos. Their purpose is not a marketing slogan. It is their internal engine. Chapter 3. How Billionaires See Opportunity. Billionaires do not live in a different world, but they see the world differently. What others overlook, they examine. What others complain about, they investigate. What others avoid, they enter. For most people, opportunity appears randomly, something that comes along once in a while. But for billionaires, opportunity is everywhere, abundant, overflowing, and constantly multiplying. The real difference is not the opportunity itself, but the lens through which they observe reality. Their minds are trained to detect patterns, tensions, inefficiencies, human needs, emerging trends, and hidden openings that the average eye filters out. To understand how they see opportunity, one must first understand how they think, because opportunity is first discovered internally before it ever exists externally. Billionaires believe that every problem is a potential business, every gap is an invitation, every frustration is a signal, and every unmet need is a possibility waiting for a solution. They do not merely react to circumstances, they decode them. When they encounter a daily inconvenience, slow service, outdated processes, inefficient systems, they don't complain. They ask, why is it like this? And how could it be done better? Their curiosity becomes a radar for opportunity. While others accept the status quo, billionaires question it. This habit of questioning transforms ordinary experiences into extraordinary openings. The world becomes a canvas of solvable puzzles, each one containing the potential seed of a multi-billion-dollar solution. One of the strongest differences in how billionaires see opportunity lies in their ability to recognize patterns before they become obvious. They study trends not when they are popular, but when they are quiet whispers on the edge of change. They observe technology evolving, consumer behavior shifting, industries aging, and market needs evolving. While most people live in the present, billionaires live slightly in the future. They imagine how the world might look in 5 years, 10 years, or 50 years. This future-oriented vision allows them to enter markets early, build systems slowly, and dominate those markets long before the rest of the world wakes up. Their opportunities are born from anticipation, not reaction. Another powerful perspective they hold is the belief that opportunity rarely appears in perfect form. It usually comes disguised as hard work, risk, experimentation, uncertainty, or even chaos. Where the average person sees discomfort, the billionaire sees a doorway. They know that if an idea were easy, safe, and certain, everyone would already be doing it, and the opportunity would no longer be valuable. They understand that the biggest wins come from situations filled with unpredictability. Instead of waiting for perfect timing, they create their own timing by entering early, learning fast, and adjusting continuously. They trust their ability to adapt more than the stability of the environment. Billionaires also recognize that opportunity is tied to scale. Many people see a good idea, but think only in terms of personal benefit. Billionaires think, how can this impact millions? They understand that the idea is only the beginning. The true opportunity lies in its ability to grow beyond the limits of an individual. They search for ideas that can be multiplied, automated, digitized, or replicated. They prefer industries or models where one solution can transform an entire sector. This scale-driven vision allows them to differentiate between a small opportunity and a world-changing one. They know that a single scalable idea is worth more than 1,000 small ones. Another core trait that shapes how billionaires perceive opportunity is their willingness to embrace asymmetry, the belief that small actions can lead to massive rewards. They look for opportunities where the downside is limited but the upside is substantial. Instead of seeking stability, they seek leverage. They ask, what move can I make today that could multiply into something exponential? They look for opportunities with compounding potential, platforms, technologies, intellectual property, brand power, or network effects. To them, opportunity is not about how much effort they put in, but about how much they can extract from that effort through leverage and scalability. Billionaires also see opportunity in people, their talents, their frustrations, their ambitions, and their dreams. They know that human behavior drives markets, not the other way around. Rather than studying numbers alone, they study desires. They observe what people complain about, what they fear, what they hope for, what they spend on, and what they avoid. They watch how crowds move, how cultures shift, and how priorities evolve. This deep understanding of people allows them to anticipate needs before the masses even articulate them. Opportunity, therefore, is not just economic. It is psychological, emotional, and cultural. One of the most important reasons billionaires see opportunity where others don't is their interpretation of failure. Most people assume failure means the opportunity is gone. Billionaires interpret failure as information. They treat failures as experiments, not verdicts. Because they are not afraid to fail, they try more things. Because they try more things, they discover more openings. And because they discover more openings, their chances of finding something extraordinary increase. Their mindset is structured around iteration. Test small, learn fast, adjust immediately, and scale rapidly. This cycle keeps opportunity flowing like a river, not like a rare event. Another powerful belief shaping their perception is the understanding that markets are never fully taken. Even the most crowded industries still hold massive openings. Billionaires know that most industries suffer from outdated systems, inefficient pricing, poor user experiences, slow innovation, and inflexible incumbents. They do not fear competition because they know most competitors are complacent, inefficient, or limited by internal bureaucracy. Instead of avoiding crowded spaces, they study them, looking for weak points, blind spots, and unmet needs. They know that disruption is always possible, even in industries that appear saturated. Opportunity also becomes visible to billionaires because of their relentless habit of continuous learning. Their minds are constantly upgrading. They read extensively, travel frequently, ask questions endlessly, and engage in deep thinking. Their knowledge becomes a lens that filters information differently. When someone with limited knowledge observes a situation, they see only its surface. When a billionaire observes it, they see its structure, its potential, and its hidden layers. Their ability to connect information from different fields, technology, psychology, markets, economics, culture, history, gives them the power to detect cross-disciplinary opportunities that others would never notice. A profound element of how billionaires see opportunity lies in their belief that resources follow vision, not the other way around. They do not wait to have money, connections, or perfect conditions before pursuing an idea. Instead, they begin with a bold concept and then attract the necessary resources. Their mindset is, if the opportunity is real, the resources will appear. This belief frees them from the limitations that hold most people back. They know that investors, partners, talent, and capital gravitate toward powerful ideas. They focus on creating clarity of vision, because clarity pulls resources toward it like gravity. Another defining trait is their ability to see opportunity in other people's limitations. When someone says, "This can't be done," a billionaire asks, what belief is blocking them from seeing possibilities? They understand that most barriers are psychological, not factual. They explore what assumptions the world has accepted without question. They look for rules that no longer make sense. They challenge traditions that need to evolve. They know that breakthroughs come from questioning what everyone else accepts as truth. As a result, their minds constantly generate possibilities, while others remain trapped in limitations they never questioned. Perhaps the most powerful difference is that billionaires look at the world through the lens of value creation. They don't ask, "What can I get?" They ask, "What can I create that will benefit millions?" This shift changes everything. When your mind searches for ways to serve massive numbers of people, you automatically stumble upon opportunities that others never consider. You begin to think at scale. You look for problems large enough to matter, pain points deep enough to require solutions, and dreams powerful enough to inspire global adoption. Billionaires see opportunity, not because they are lucky, but because they look for ways to elevate humanity in ways others overlook. Finally, billionaires see opportunity because they believe the world is unfinished. They believe that everything, every product, every industry, every system, every technology, every service can be improved, reinvented, optimized, or reimagined. They walk through life with the quiet certainty that greatness is always one decision, one idea, or one leap away. They know that the world is constantly evolving, and they choose to be the ones shaping that evolution rather than reacting to it. This belief transforms their perception from passive observation to active creation. They don't wait for opportunity. They manufacture it. Chapter 4. The Psychology of Billionaire Work Ethic. The psychology of billionaire work ethic is not built on the idea of working endlessly, nor is it about hustling without rest. It is a deeply rooted mindset, a way of interpreting effort, productivity, discipline, and purpose that transforms ordinary hours into extraordinary results. Most people imagine that billionaires simply work harder, but the truth is far more sophisticated. They work differently. They work with intention, clarity, and a level of internal discipline that operates automatically, almost like a finely tuned machine. Their work ethic begins long before the day starts, and it extends far beyond the hours they physically invest. It is a psychological blueprint designed to extract the highest possible value from every minute, every decision, every environment, and every interaction. Billionaires do not begin with external effort. They begin with internal alignment. They design their identity around excellence. They believe that high performance is not an occasional act, but a lifestyle. For them, work is not something they do when they feel motivated. It is part of who they are. They see themselves as creators, builders, architects of the future, and guardians of their own vision. This identity-driven work ethic makes discipline effortless because they're not forcing themselves to work. They're expressing who they believe themselves to be. When you attach your identity to greatness, laziness simply feels unnatural. At the core of billionaire work ethic lies the belief that time is the most valuable currency in the universe. Billionaires treat time with a level of respect that borders on obsession. They know that minutes shape days, days shape decades, and decades build legacies. Their psychological approach is built on the understanding that every hour wasted is an hour stolen from their future achievements. This awareness leads them to engineer their days like master strategists. They eliminate distractions. They design environments that support focus. They prioritize ruthlessly, giving their energy only to the few tasks that generate exponential return. Their work ethic is therefore not based on working more. It is based on working with absolute precision. Another powerful psychological principle that fuels billionaire work ethic is the ability to delay gratification. While most people chase quick results and immediate comfort, billionaires anchor themselves in long-term vision. They are willing to sacrifice temporary pleasure for permanent success. This ability to prioritize future rewards over current emotions gives them the stamina to keep going when others quit. Their endurance is not fueled by force, but by clarity. They know exactly what they're working toward and why. Their vision acts as an internal engine, pushing them forward through fatigue, doubt, fear, or uncertainty. The world watches their work ethic and sees intensity. They feel purpose. A defining aspect of their psychological structure is their relationship with discomfort. Most individuals avoid discomfort because they associate it with pain. Billionaires see discomfort as a teacher, a compass, a sign that they are growing. They expect challenges, embrace uncertainty, and interpret struggle as proof that they are on the right path. Their work ethic thrives under pressure because they do not run from difficult tasks. They run toward them. They know that the world's most valuable opportunities hide behind hard work. And because they do not fear the difficulty, they reach opportunities others never attempt to approach. Another element of billionaire psychology is the way they manage energy instead of time. They understand that productivity does not depend on how long you work, but on the quality of the energy you bring to the work. They optimize sleep, fitness, mental clarity, environment, and emotional well-being because these elements fuel high-performing energy. They take breaks strategically. They meditate, exercise, read, and recharge because they know that a fatigued mind cannot produce high-level decisions. Their work ethic is intense not because they burn out, but because they treat their brain and body like high-performance engines that require care, discipline, and maintenance. One of the most remarkable aspects of billionaire work ethic is the way they simplify their mental world. They eliminate unnecessary decision-making. They reduce clutter, both physical and psychological. They automate routine tasks and delegate anything that does not require their unique intelligence. This decluttering of life preserves mental bandwidth. The result is a state of sustained cognitive sharpness, allowing them to make better decisions faster. Their work ethic looks superhuman to outsiders because they have freed themselves from 90% of the small distractions that drain ordinary people daily. The psychology of billionaire work ethic is also driven by obsession with mastery. They are not satisfied with being good. They strive to become the best. They study obsessively. They read extensively. They analyze failures. They refine approaches. They hone their strengths. Their work is not executed casually. It is crafted with intention. This pursuit of mastery transforms work from a chore into an art form. Billionaires approach their craft like world-class athletes approach their sport. Every day is practice. Every hour is improvement. Every task is refinement. Their work ethic is a dedication to mastery that compounds into extraordinary skill. Communication plays a powerful role in their psychology. Billionaires guard their mindset by guarding their environment. They avoid negativity, gossip, laziness, and people who drain their ambition. They consciously align themselves with high-performance individuals. They surround themselves with thinkers, doers, innovators, strategists, and visionaries. This environment shapes their work ethic by reinforcing ambition, speed, intensity, and creativity. Being around world-class performers normalizes excellence, making extraordinary effort feel ordinary. Another psychological pillar shaping billionaire work ethic is their ability to compartmentalize emotions. They do not let bad days affect their decisions. They do not let temporary emotions influence long-term actions. They understand that emotional waves are normal, but discipline must remain consistent. Instead of waiting to feel like working, they work regardless of feeling. Emotional control becomes their superpower. Their consistency is not generated by motivation. It is generated by discipline layered over emotional stability. A deeply embedded belief in billionaire psychology is extreme accountability. They do not blame the outside world for their failures. They do not make excuses. They do not wait for conditions to be perfect. They assume full responsibility for outcomes, even when conditions are unfair or unpredictable. This mindset gives them power. Responsibility activates problem-solving. Excuses activate stagnation. Billionaires understand this difference at a psychological level. When they take ownership, they gain the ability to shape results deliberately. The billionaire work ethic also flows from their understanding of leverage. They know that 1 hour of strategic thinking can be worth more than 100 hours of manual effort. They use their minds to create leverage. They build systems, teams, platforms, technologies, brands, and networks that multiply the power of their work. Their work ethic is not about grinding harder. It is about creating structures that continue producing results long after they stop working physically. This ability turns their work into a force of compounding output. Another important part of billionaire psychology is the belief that work is a privilege. They view their work as their chance to contribute, create, and shape the world. They do not wake up dreading work. They wake up recognizing that they are building something meaningful. This emotional connection to purpose fuels their endurance. When your work feels like your mission, burnout becomes rare and commitment becomes natural. Their purpose elevates their work ethic from discipline to devotion. Finally, the psychology of billionaire work ethic is anchored in relentless self-belief. They do not wait for validation. They do not seek approval. They do not depend on external encouragement. Their internal confidence becomes an unbreakable foundation. They trust their vision even when others doubt it. They trust their decisions even when they are uncertain. They trust their potential even when the path forward is unclear. This deep inner certainty allows them to work with courage, resilience, and conviction. Their work ethic is not fueled by fear of failure. It is fueled by faith in eventual success. In the end, the billionaire work ethic is a psychological ecosystem, a combination of identity, clarity, discipline, purpose, energy management, emotional control, accountability, and relentless internal belief. It is not about working more hours than everyone else. It is about approaching work with a level of intention, depth, and consciousness that turns every moment into progress. Billionaires are not superhuman. They have simply mastered the psychology that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Chapter 5: Strategic Thinking and Decision-Making. Strategic thinking is the mental architecture behind every billionaire's success story. It is not luck, nor is it a sudden spark of genius. It is a disciplined, intentional way of interpreting the world. Billionaires think in layers. They see beyond the next step and understand the implications of each choice. They study cause and effect like a scientist, timing like a chess master, and opportunity like an artist searching for meaning in every detail. Strategic thinking is their compass, and decision-making is their engine. Together, these two abilities guide them through complexity, competition, uncertainty, and change with clarity that seems almost supernatural to the outside world. But strategic thinking doesn't begin with business. It begins with awareness. Billionaires train themselves to observe deeply. They examine patterns, trends, human behavior, market forces, cultural shifts, technological evolution, and global dynamics with curiosity rather than fear. While most people focus on the problem in front of them, billionaires focus on the entire environment surrounding that problem. They don't ask, "What is happening?" They ask, "Why is this happening? What does it mean? Where is it going? Who is being affected? What opportunities or threats does it reveal?" Strategic thinking is the habit of looking beneath the surface and connecting dots others never think to connect. This expanded awareness fuels their ability to see the consequences of decisions long before those consequences unfold. Billionaires think in terms of second-order and third-order effects. They don't just think about what a decision does today. They think about what it causes tomorrow, what it leads to next year, and what it creates a decade from now. They think long-term as naturally as others think short-term. And because they think far ahead, they position themselves advantageously while others are still trying to figure out what is happening in the present. Their sense of timing is not guesswork. It is the result of seeing the chain reaction of events long before others notice the first link. Another powerful trait behind billionaire strategic thinking is their ability to simplify complexity. They don't get overwhelmed by large challenges. Instead, they break challenges into components they can analyze, restructure, and solve one at a time. They reduce noise until only the signal remains. They create clarity by eliminating what doesn't matter. Strategic thinking requires mental organization, and billionaires master this through relentless learning, deep thinking, and intentional reflection. They create intellectual order in a world full of chaos. Their ability to think strategically is strengthened by their comfort with uncertainty. Billionaires understand that the future is never fully predictable, but they don't freeze in fear. They make decisions with partial information and adjust rapidly as reality evolves. They believe that imperfect decisions executed quickly are often far more powerful than perfect decisions delayed indefinitely. Their confidence in their ability to adapt makes them bold. They do not wait for certainty. They create momentum even in fog. They move forward, trusting that clarity will sharpen as action unfolds. At the core of billionaire decision-making lies a deep understanding of risk. Billionaires do not avoid risk. They manage it. They assess risk not emotionally but mathematically, strategically, and probabilistically. They ask themselves, what is the worst case? What is the best case? What is the most likely case? What can be gained? What can be lost? How can the downside be protected? How can the upside be maximized? Their decisions are grounded in realism rather than fear. Because they think rationally under pressure, they avoid impulse decisions that sabotage long-term success. Billionaires also rely heavily on pattern recognition, a cognitive skill sharpened through years of observation, experimentation, and learning. They notice similarities between unrelated situations. They detect emerging trends before they become mainstream. They observe how human nature repeats itself across industries, cultures, and generations. This pattern recognition gives them the ability to forecast accurately and make decisions that position them ahead of the curve. To them, strategy is not prediction. It is preparation for patterns already in motion. Another defining element of billionaire decision-making is the way they approach information. They do not consume information passively. They filter aggressively. They focus only on data that matters to their goals. They eliminate noise and avoid distractions. They seek insights rather than overload. They value depth over volume. And they always question the reliability of their sources. Their strategic thinking grows stronger because they feed their minds with high-quality, meaningful information that sharpens judgment rather than dulls it. Billionaires possess an extraordinary ability to detach emotionally from their decisions. While most people struggle to separate emotion from logic, billionaires understand that emotion clouds judgment. They avoid making decisions when angry, fearful, excited, or discouraged. Instead, they wait for mental stillness and clarity. They reflect, analyze, weigh options, consult experts, and examine consequences. This emotional discipline prevents them from making impulsive choices that could derail long-term strategies. Their calmness under pressure becomes their strategic weapon. Another essential part of their psychology is the willingness to challenge assumptions. Billionaires do not accept what the world tells them. They question norms, break rules, rethink industries, and reinvent systems. Their decisions often appear radical to the masses because they are based on logic that contradicts conventional wisdom. But what others see as risk, they see as opportunity created by outdated thinking. Finally, the psychology of billionaire work ethic is anchored in relentless self-belief. They do not wait for validation. They do not seek approval. They do not depend on external encouragement. Their internal confidence becomes an unbreakable foundation. They trust their vision even when others doubt it. They trust their decisions even when they are uncertain. They trust their potential even when the path forward is unclear. This deep inner certainty allows them to work with courage, resilience, and conviction. Their work ethic is not fueled by fear of failure. It is fueled by faith in eventual success. In the end, the billionaire work ethic is a psychological ecosystem, a combination of identity, clarity, discipline, purpose, energy management, emotional control, accountability, and relentless internal belief. It is not about working more hours than everyone else. It is about approaching work with a level of intention, depth, and consciousness that turns every moment into progress. Billionaires are not superhuman. They have simply mastered the psychology that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Chapter 5. Strategic Thinking and Decision-Making. Strategic thinking is the mental architecture behind every billionaire's success story. It is not luck, nor is it a sudden spark of genius. It is a disciplined, intentional way of interpreting the world. Billionaires think in layers. They see beyond the next step and understand the implications of each choice. They study cause and effect like a scientist, timing like a chess master, and opportunity like an artist searching for meaning in every detail. Strategic thinking is their compass, and decision-making is their engine. Together, these two abilities guide them through complexity, competition, uncertainty, and change with clarity that seems almost supernatural to the outside world. But strategic thinking doesn't begin with business. It begins with awareness. Billionaires train themselves to observe deeply. They examine patterns, trends, human behavior, market forces, cultural shifts, technological evolution, and global dynamics with curiosity rather than fear. While most people focus on the problem in front of them, billionaires focus on the entire environment surrounding that problem. They don't ask, "What is happening?" They ask, "Why is this happening? What does it mean? Where is it going? Who is being affected? What opportunities or threats does it reveal?" Strategic thinking is the habit of looking beneath the surface and connecting dots others never think to connect. This expanded awareness fuels their ability to see the consequences of decisions long before those consequences unfold. Billionaires think in terms of second-order and third-order effects. They don't just think about what a decision does today. They think about what it causes tomorrow, what it leads to next year, and what it creates a decade from now. They think long-term as naturally as others think short-term. And because they think far ahead, they position themselves advantageously while others are still trying to figure out what is happening in the present. Their sense of timing is not guesswork. It is the result of seeing the chain reaction of events long before others notice the first link. Another powerful trait behind billionaire strategic thinking is their ability to simplify complexity. They don't get overwhelmed by large challenges. Instead, they break challenges into components they can analyze, restructure, and solve one at a time. They reduce noise until only the signal remains. They create clarity by eliminating what doesn't matter. Strategic thinking requires mental organization, and billionaires master this through relentless learning, deep thinking, and intentional reflection. They create intellectual order in a world full of chaos. Their ability to think strategically is strengthened by their comfort with uncertainty. Billionaires understand that the future is never fully predictable, but they don't freeze in fear. They make decisions with partial information and adjust rapidly as reality evolves. They believe that imperfect decisions executed quickly are often far more powerful than perfect decisions delayed indefinitely. Their confidence in their ability to adapt makes them bold. They do not wait for certainty. They create momentum even in fog. They move forward, trusting that clarity will sharpen as action unfolds. At the core of billionaire decision-making lies a deep understanding of risk. Billionaires do not avoid risk. They manage it. They assess risk not emotionally but mathematically, strategically, and probabilistically. They ask themselves, what is the worst case? What is the best case? What is the most likely case? What can be gained? What can be lost? How can the downside be protected? How can the upside be maximized? Their decisions are grounded in realism rather than fear. Because they think rationally under pressure, they avoid impulse decisions that sabotage long-term success. Billionaires also rely heavily on pattern recognition, a cognitive skill sharpened through years of observation, experimentation, and learning. They notice similarities between unrelated situations. They detect emerging trends before they become mainstream. They observe how human nature repeats itself across industries, cultures, and generations. This pattern recognition gives them the ability to forecast accurately and make decisions that position them ahead of the curve. To them, strategy is not prediction. It is preparation for patterns already in motion. Another defining element of billionaire decision-making is the way they approach information. They do not consume information passively. They filter aggressively. They focus only on data that matters to their goals. They eliminate noise and avoid distractions. They seek insights rather than overload. They value depth over volume. And they always question the reliability of their sources. Their strategic thinking grows stronger because they feed their minds with high-quality, meaningful information that sharpens judgment rather than dulls it. Billionaires possess an extraordinary ability to detach emotionally from their decisions. While most people struggle to separate emotion from logic, billionaires understand that emotion clouds judgment. They avoid making decisions when angry, fearful, excited, or discouraged. Instead, they wait for mental stillness and clarity. They reflect, analyze, weigh options, consult experts, and examine consequences. This emotional discipline prevents them from making impulsive choices that could derail long-term strategies. Their calmness under pressure becomes their strategic weapon. Another essential part of their psychology is the willingness to challenge assumptions. Billionaires do not accept what the world tells them. They question norms, break rules, rethink industries, and reinvent systems. Their decisions often appear radical to the masses because they are based on logic that contradicts conventional wisdom. But what others see as risk, they see as opportunity created by outdated thinking. Their strategic advantage often comes from seeing what is missing or outdated in the status quo, then making decisions to correct or exploit it. One of the most powerful aspects of billionaire strategy is the understanding that great decisions require great thinking time. They create space in their schedules to think deeply. They disconnect from distractions. They walk, meditate, journal, or take quiet retreats. They know that profound clarity rarely comes in chaos. It comes from stepping back, observing the bigger picture, and allowing the mind to process information at a higher level. Their best ideas, strategies, and solutions are born in silence, not in noise. Strategic thinking is also heavily influenced by internal alignment. Billionaires make decisions based on vision, values, and long-term purpose. They do not chase every opportunity. They choose only those that align with their mission. This alignment makes their decisions more coherent and their strategies more powerful. Every move they make builds toward a larger picture. Their lives are not random. They are designed. Billionaires also use the power of contrarian thinking. They don't follow the crowd. They observe the crowd and do the opposite when it makes logical sense. They understand that mass behavior often reflects emotion rather than reason. When the world panics, they look for bargains. When the world gets euphoric, they look for exits. Contrarian thinking allows them to capitalize on fear and avoid the traps of greed. Another element deeply embedded in billionaire strategy is the concept of feedback loops. They track their decisions meticulously. They study outcomes. They analyze failures. They refine playbooks. They improve continuously. They never assume they're always right. They assume they can always get better. This humility in learning fuels strategic evolution, making their decision-making sharper over time. Billionaires make decisions that are multidimensional. They consider financial impact, long-term sustainability, brand value, cultural influence, technological relevance, and human psychology, all at once. Their strategic thinking is holistic rather than linear. They understand that business, society, technology, and human behavior are interconnected systems, and they make decisions that leverage these intersections. Ultimately, the psychology of strategic thinking and decision-making among billionaires is rooted in the belief that life is a game of choices. Every choice shapes outcomes. Every decision creates a ripple. Every moment of clarity can shift a destiny. They think strategically not because they are forced to, but because they understand the unbelievable power that a single well-made decision holds. Billionaires are not defined by the number of decisions they make. They're defined by the quality of those decisions. And the quality of those decisions is forged through awareness, discipline, reflection, courage, clarity, and an unshakable commitment to long-term thinking. Chapter 6. Wealth Building Framework. Wealth is not something that appears suddenly, nor is it a miracle reserved for a select group of extraordinary people. It is a framework, an architecture of decisions, habits, beliefs, and strategies that, when placed together in the right sequence, pull a person upward into a new financial reality. When we talk about billionaires, we often imagine a level of wealth that seems too distant to even evaluate. But remove the zeros, remove the scale, and what you will discover is a framework that works at every level. The same financial architecture that guides a billionaire through a multi-billion-dollar investment also guides an ordinary person through their first step toward wealth. The numbers may differ, but the structure remains the same. That is why understanding the wealth-building framework is one of the most powerful things you can do, not only for your finances, but for your identity, your confidence, and your path forward in life. The journey begins with a shift in how you view money. Billionaires do not see money the way the average person does. Where most see money as something to spend, billionaires see it as a tool, an instrument that, when used wisely, grows exponentially. They understand that every rupee, every dollar, every coin carries with it a potential. The potential to duplicate itself, to multiply, to become something greater. This is the first pillar of the wealth-building framework, thinking about money as a seed, not a reward. A seed grows. A reward disappears. People who stay financially stuck often spend money the moment it enters their hands because it feels like a reward for their effort. But wealth builders hold their money differently. They treat it like a resource meant to be cultivated. Cultivation requires patience, and this is where most fail. Billionaires are masters of long-term thinking. While the world chases quick profits, fast results, and overnight success stories, they look for models that produce ongoing cash flow and sustainable growth. They do not measure progress only by today's excitement. They measure it by the results compounding years from now. In your personal wealth journey, this translates into choosing activities that create long-term benefits, even if the short-term thrill is missing. Saving when you want to spend, learning when you want to relax, investing when fear is whispering that you shouldn't, and building when others are enjoying temporary comfort. But thinking long-term alone is not enough. There must be structure, a blueprint. Billionaires operate according to systems. They rarely rely on luck or emotional impulses. They place mechanisms in their life that ensure wealth is continuously being built even on days when they are tired, distracted, or uninspired. This is the second pillar of the wealth-building framework, systemization. A wealth system includes routine investment, continuous learning, strategic growth, and the ability to allocate resources efficiently. Think of it like a machine that runs whether you're excited or not. When you automate your wealth habits, saving automatically, investing automatically, learning consistently, improving constantly, your life begins to compound. The third pillar of the framework is understanding assets versus liabilities. This principle is simple yet life-changing. Billionaires and financial winners buy assets, things that generate income, appreciate over time, or reduce future expenses. The financially trapped by liabilities, things that lose value, drain money, and create future obligations. The framework teaches you to ask a simple question before every financial decision. Will this purchase feed my future or drain it? If you can master this single question, your life will move in a profoundly different direction. Over time, your assets begin to work for you, and that is when wealth becomes a natural outcome, not a forced effort. Next comes the power of controlled risk. Billionaires take risks, but they are not reckless. They calculate, they measure, they evaluate, they diversify. They protect the downside while expanding the upside. Wealth cannot grow inside a comfort zone, but it also cannot grow in chaos. Controlled risk is the bridge. When you step into controlled risk, whether by starting a small business, investing in opportunities, acquiring skills, or exploring new income streams, you expand your financial possibilities without collapsing your stability. This is where many fail, too afraid to take any risk, or too reckless to take the right ones. But billionaires play a different game. They take small, educated risks repeatedly, allowing them to learn, adapt, improve, and eventually hit breakthroughs. From controlled risk emerges opportunity creation. A core part of the wealth framework is realizing that opportunities are not found. They are created. Billionaires build networks, environments, and habits that naturally attract opportunities. They surround themselves with people who think big. They read and research constantly. They stay curious. They ask questions. They explore new industries. They analyze trends. They invest in relationships. They keep their minds open and their egos stable. When the average person sees a problem, a wealth builder sees a door. When others complain, they examine. When others accept, they challenge. This mindset does not appear magically. It grows through repetition, exposure, and deliberate intention. The next pillar is cash flow mastery. Cash flow is the bloodstream of wealth. You can earn millions, but without positive cash flow, you will struggle financially. Billionaires focus heavily on generating recurring income that arrives with or without their daily presence. They build systems that run independently: businesses, investments, intellectual property, equity stakes, and scalable ventures. For your own wealth journey, this means identifying ways to convert your skills, resources, and time into recurring value. Whether it is digital products, freelancing that turns into an agency, real estate, investments, or monetizing knowledge, cash flow transforms wealth from an idea into reality. A significant part of cash flow is expense control. Billionaires are not careless spenders. They may buy luxurious things, but not at the cost of their future. They maintain a strategic distance between their lifestyle and their true net worth. They avoid unnecessary emotional spending and focus on value. Controlling expenses is not about being cheap. It is about being intentional. Every rupee saved and redirected to investments becomes a worker in your financial army. This army grows with discipline, and that discipline becomes visible in ways you will one day look back and thank yourself for. Another pillar of the framework is skill accumulation. Wealth builders are obsessed with upgrading themselves. They invest aggressively in their knowledge, mindset, and abilities because they understand that the true engine of wealth is not money. It is you. The stronger your skills, the larger your opportunities. The clearer your thinking, the better your decisions. The more valuable you become, the more the world pays you. Skills compound exactly like investments. What you learn today may pay you for the next 20 years. Billionaires read constantly, learn from people smarter than them, and stay deeply aware of changing trends. They understand that in a fast-changing world, the greatest risk is staying the same. The wealth framework also emphasizes environment design. Your surroundings influence your actions more than your intention does. Billionaires deliberately construct environments that reinforce productivity, clarity, and growth. They spend time with people who challenge them. They design routines that reduce wasted time. They structure their workspaces for deep focus. They avoid negativity and aimless entertainment. They treat their environment like a silent partner, a partner that either pushes them forward or pulls them back. In your journey, designing an environment that supports your goals, cleaning your space, removing distractions, surrounding yourself with ambitious individuals, reshapes your path dramatically. A further pillar is financial literacy, understanding how money actually works. Wealth builders understand taxation, compounding, inflation, investment vehicles, business models, economic cycles, and market psychology. They do not fear financial terminology, they master it. You cannot win a game you do not understand. And the money game has rules. Once you learn them, the game becomes easier, clearer, and more predictable. Financial literacy protects you from bad decisions, emotional decisions, and the destructive belief that wealth is merely a matter of luck. Then comes the pillar of leverage. Billionaires do not rely solely on their own effort. They use the effort of systems, people, technology, capital, reputation, and time. Leverage multiplies results. When you work alone, you use only your own energy. When you use leverage, you use energy that is exponentially greater than your own. Leverage is the difference between linear growth and exponential growth. For you, leverage may mean delegating tasks, using tools and automation, learning technology, collaborating with others, or building scalable income streams. The goal is simple. Move from doing everything yourself to creating systems that multiply your effort. The next pillar is resilience and adaptability. Every wealth journey includes setbacks. Billionaires experience failure constantly. Failed investments, failed ventures, wrong decisions, unexpected losses. But they treat failure as data, not defeat. They adapt quickly. They do not cling to old strategies that no longer work. They pivot with clarity and intention. Adaptability is what keeps wealth builders moving when others stop. It separates the financially resilient from the financially defeated. When you cultivate adaptability, emotionally, mentally, and strategically, you become nearly unstoppable. Now we reach one of the most important pillars, identity transformation. You cannot build billionaire-level success with a middle-class mindset. Your identity determines your financial destiny. When you see yourself as someone capable, disciplined, intelligent, and worthy of wealth, your actions follow. When you see yourself as limited or unworthy, your actions shrink. Wealth is not only built externally, but internally. Your beliefs about money, success, risk, opportunity, and yourself become the foundation of your financial architecture. Change your identity, and your results will follow. And finally, the ultimate pillar of the wealth-building framework, purpose. Wealth without purpose leads to emptiness. Billionaires who sustain success have a compelling mission, a reason beyond luxury. Purpose gives them energy when the work becomes difficult. Purpose gives meaning to the sacrifices. Purpose fuels creativity, persistence, and resilience. Purpose transforms wealth from a selfish pursuit into a meaningful journey. Your purpose may be to support your family, build a business, uplift your community, create impact, or fulfill your potential. Whatever it is, purpose gives your wealth direction, dignity, and power. When you combine these pillars, mindset, systemization, asset creation, controlled risk, opportunity building, cash flow mastery, skill accumulation, environment design, financial literacy, leverage, adaptability, identity transformation, and purpose, you create an unstoppable framework. Wealth becomes the side effect of who you are becoming. It becomes the natural outcome of the way you think, act, and evolve. This framework is not reserved for billionaires. It is available to anyone willing to follow it. Whether you start with a little or a lot, this architecture lifts you higher step by step. In the end, wealth is not merely about accumulating money. It is about building a life of freedom, influence, growth, and opportunity. It is about constructing a future where your choices expand instead of shrink, where your world grows instead of tightens. The wealth-building framework is your blueprint. Follow it consistently, and the path ahead will transform, slowly at first, then suddenly, and then undeniably. Your financial life will begin to reflect the power of your decisions, and you will realize that wealth was never about luck. It was always about design. Chapter 7. Networks, Influence, and Power. Billionaires understand a truth that most people never fully grasp. Success is rarely a solo journey. Behind every extraordinary achievement, every industry shift, every massive opportunity, there is a network, a web of people, relationships, and connections woven carefully over time. Wealth does not grow in isolation. Influence does not rise in silence. Power does not emerge from standing alone. The world rewards those who know how to build alliances, how to nurture relationships, how to connect ideas with people, and people with opportunities. To understand how billionaires think, you must understand how they view networks, influence, and power, not as manipulative tools, but as natural extensions of human potential. A network, in the billionaire's world, is not merely a list of contacts saved in a phone. It is a living ecosystem, a dynamic environment where ideas flow, support circulates, and opportunities travel from one mind to another. Billionaires recognize that every person holds a piece of information, a perspective, or a capability that could become invaluable. They do not judge people only by their present value, but by the potential they may hold in the future. They understand that a small connection made today may unlock a life-changing opportunity years later. This long-term view of relationships is one of the most powerful things separating the wealthy from the average. Most people only seek relationships when they need something. Billionaires build relationships long before needs arise. They invest time, energy, and genuine interest into connecting with others simply because they know people are the real currency of life. They listen more than they speak. They observe more than they interrupt. They give more than they expect. Over time, their network becomes a reservoir of goodwill, a reservoir they can draw from in moments of opportunity or challenge. And the more value they create for their network, the more influence they naturally accumulate. Influence, for billionaires, is not about controlling people. It is about inspiring them. It is about being a person others trust, respect, and want to align with. Influence emerges from reputation. Reputation built through consistency, expertise, generosity, and the ability to deliver results. While many chase attention, billionaires chase credibility. Attention gives momentary popularity, but credibility gives long-term power. The world listens to people who consistently show competence and character. This is why billionaires protect their reputation fiercely. They understand that a single bad decision, a careless action, or a dishonest move can damage the trust they have spent years building. They operate with integrity, not because it looks good, but because integrity amplifies influence. People support those they believe in. Investors fund leaders they trust. Partners commit to people whose values they recognize. Influence grows from the soil of reliability. Power, in the billionaire's perception, is different from the stereotypical meaning society uses. For them, power is not domination. It is not superiority. It is not being above others. Power is the ability to create impact. It is the capability to change outcomes. It is the strength to shift situations from impossible to achievable. True power comes from three things: knowledge, networks, and leverage. Knowledge gives clarity. Networks give access. Leverage multiplies impact. When a billionaire combines these, they gain the power to move mountains, financially, socially, and strategically. But this power is not built overnight. It grows through thousands of moments, introductions, conversations, collaborations, and acts of generosity. Billionaires cultivate their networks intentionally. They attend rooms where ideas are discussed, not gossip. They build friendships with people who challenge them, not flatter them. They join circles where growth is the norm, not the exception. They seek mentors who hold higher perspectives and younger minds who hold fresh ideas. They understand the value of diversity in thinking, experience, expertise, and background. Each person in their network adds a new dimension to their worldview. One of the biggest misconceptions is that billionaires only network with other billionaires. In reality, they network with people across all levels: experts, innovators, creators, engineers, designers, storytellers, investors, employees, thinkers, and dreamers. They see the world as a fabric woven together by countless individuals, each contributing a different thread. By connecting these threads, billionaires create patterns of opportunity invisible to others. The psychology behind their networking approach is rooted in curiosity. They are curious about people's stories, their struggles, their passions, their expertise. This curiosity opens doors because nothing builds relationships faster than genuine interest. People gravitate toward those who make them feel seen, heard, and valued. Billionaires know how to make others feel important, not as a strategy, but as a natural expression of their mindset. Another key aspect of network building is the willingness to collaborate instead of compete. Most people shrink their opportunities by trying to outshine others. Billionaires expand opportunities by partnering with others. They understand that collaboration multiplies results, while competition often divides them. When two minds combine, ideas merge, strengths reinforce, and weaknesses dissolve. Collaboration creates synergy, and synergy builds empires. Through collaboration, influence grows. Through influence, networks deepen. Through networks, opportunities accelerate. And through all of this, power develops organically. This is why billionaires rarely work alone. They build teams, advisory boards, partnerships, and alliances that extend their reach far beyond what one person could accomplish. Their network becomes their superpower. Within this network lies another crucial element: proximity. Billionaires place themselves in environments where success is the norm. They know that being around the right people shifts your energy, thinking, ambition, and expectations. When you're surrounded by people who dream big, you naturally begin to think bigger. When you are around people who take action, you become action-oriented. When you witness people achieving extraordinary things, you stop seeing limitations. Billionaires choose proximity to excellence deliberately. Your network shapes your future. It shapes your mindset, your emotions, your habits, your standards, and your opportunities. If your network pulls you down, your potential collapses. If your network lifts you up, your destiny expands. Billionaires have mastered this truth, which is why they are intentional about who they allow into their close circle. They distance themselves from toxic energy, negativity, and small-minded thinking. They protect their mental environment as carefully as their financial one. Influence grows further through communication. Billionaires communicate with clarity, confidence, and conviction. They understand how to articulate ideas in ways that resonate with others. They know how to negotiate, persuade, inspire, and unify people around shared goals. This ability is not simply natural talent. It is a skill developed through thousands of interactions. The better they communicate, the more effectively they can lead. And the more effectively they lead, the more power they gain. Power also comes from adding value. When you continuously contribute to others, sharing insights, offering support, giving opportunities, you become indispensable. People remember contribution far longer than conversation. People are attracted to those who provide solutions. Billionaires become magnets in their network because they constantly add value. Whether it is financial value, intellectual value, emotional value, or strategic value, they enrich the people around them. Over time, a powerful cycle emerges. Value creates respect. Respect creates influence. Influence expands networks. Networks expand opportunities, and opportunities expand wealth. This cycle is the foundation of billionaire-level success. And the most exciting part? Anyone can step into this cycle with the right mindset. Building networks begins with presence, being present in conversations, present in learning, present in connections. Influence begins with authenticity, being true, being reliable, being consistent. Power begins with contribution, giving before expecting, leading before asking, offering before taking. This is the formula. When you master networks, influence, and power, you no longer chase opportunities. Opportunities chase you. You no longer struggle for growth. Growth becomes a byproduct of your environment. You no longer feel alone in your journey. You feel supported, connected, and uplifted by the people around you. This is how billionaires rise. Not by force, not by luck, not by isolation, but by mastering the invisible architecture of connection. When your network expands, your influence amplifies. When your influence amplifies, your power materializes. And when your power materializes, your potential becomes limitless. Chapter 8: Emotional Intelligence and Leadership. Emotional intelligence is one of the greatest yet most underestimated powers behind billionaire-level leadership. The world often imagines billionaires as analytical, strategic, data-driven masterminds. And they are. But what most people fail to notice is that beneath that sharp intellect lies an even more powerful force: emotional mastery. Billionaires understand themselves deeply, understand others intuitively, and use this understanding to build trust, inspire action, influence decisions, and guide people through uncertainty. Emotional intelligence is not softness. It is strength in its highest form. It is the quiet force that shapes leaders into visionaries, teams into families, and ideas into global movements. Leadership begins not with leading others, but with leading yourself. Billionaires master their emotions, so their emotions never master them. They know that fear, anger, frustration, doubt, or ego can cloud their judgment. So instead of reacting impulsively, they pause. They breathe. They analyze. Emotional intelligence allows them to respond, not react, to choose clarity over chaos. Where most people make decisions under emotional pressure, wealthy leaders use calmness as a strategic advantage. Their ability to stay composed during storms makes others trust them. Teams look to leaders who remain steady when everyone else is panicking. Investors follow leaders who project emotional strength. Partners commit to leaders who communicate with stability. In this way, emotional intelligence becomes a magnet for trust. But emotional intelligence goes deeper than emotional control. It involves self-awareness, the ability to understand your strengths, weaknesses, triggers, desires, motives, and behavioral patterns. Billionaires develop a profound awareness of who they are. They recognize when their ego is speaking. They notice when fatigue is affecting their clarity. They acknowledge when insecurity tries to influence their decisions. Self-awareness gives them the internal map needed to navigate complex situations. You cannot grow beyond a limitation you refuse to acknowledge. Billionaire leadership starts with brutal honesty toward oneself. They identify their weaknesses not to feel guilty, but to improve. They identify their strengths not to boast, but to use them wisely. This level of self-awareness transforms their leadership into something genuine and grounded. From self-awareness grows empathy, the ability to understand the emotions, motivations, and needs of others. Billionaires excel at reading people not through manipulation, but through curiosity. They listen carefully. They observe body language. They sense energy. They understand how people think and feel. This ability allows them to inspire teams, negotiate effectively, handle conflict gracefully, and build strong relationships. Empathy gives them insight into how to motivate people, how to support them, how to guide them, and how to connect with them on a human level. Leadership is not about authority. It is about connection. People follow leaders who understand them. People commit to leaders who care. People fight for leaders who make them feel seen. Billionaires know this deeply. Emotional intelligence also appears in the way they communicate. Billionaires are masters of clarity. They speak with intention. They choose their words carefully. They avoid unnecessary conflict. They express ideas in a way that moves people. Their communication is calm, confident, and emotionally balanced. They do not shout to prove a point. Their power is in their tone, their clarity, their conviction. They know how to adjust their communication based on the person and the situation. Firm when needed, gentle when appropriate, enthusiastic when inspiring, composed when guiding. Communication is not just what you say. It is how you make others feel when you say it. Leadership built on emotional intelligence is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not controlling. It is steady, intentional, and deeply human. The billionaire leader understands that people do not follow orders. They follow emotions. They follow belief. They follow vision. They follow energy. This is why emotional intelligence is not optional. It is essential. It is the foundation upon which influence is built. A billionaire's leadership is also marked by emotional resilience. They face failures that would break most people. They face criticism, rejection, uncertainty, and enormous pressure. The weight of expectations, responsibilities, and risks can overwhelm anyone. But emotionally intelligent leaders rebound quickly. They manage disappointment without sinking. They manage stress without collapsing. They manage chaos without losing clarity. They transform setbacks into strategies. They see challenges as data, not defeat. Emotional resilience gives them endurance, the ability to persist long enough to succeed. And yet, emotional intelligence also includes vulnerability. Billionaires are not afraid to admit mistakes, ask for help, or acknowledge uncertainty. They understand that vulnerability builds trust. It humanizes them. It makes their leadership authentic. When a leader pretends to be invincible, people feel disconnected. When a leader is honest, people feel united. Vulnerability, when used wisely, strengthens teams. It encourages open communication, psychological safety, and stronger collaboration. People become more loyal when they feel they can be honest without fear. Leadership also involves emotional empowerment, raising people's energy, confidence, and belief. Billionaires understand that people perform their best when they feel valued and appreciated. They compliment openly, criticize carefully, and encourage continuously. They use emotional intelligence to bring out the greatness in others. A billionaire leader creates an environment where people feel inspired, not intimidated, supported, not controlled, challenged, not overwhelmed. This environment produces teams that innovate, grow, and stay committed for the long term. Another aspect of billionaire emotional intelligence is their ability to navigate conflict. They do not avoid conflict. They manage it with wisdom. They listen to both sides without taking things personally. They separate emotions from facts. They seek solutions, not victories. They resolve tension without damaging relationships. This makes them powerful leaders because every team, every company, every mission encounters conflict. A leader who cannot manage emotions will destroy their organization from within. But a leader who navigates conflict with empathy and clarity builds an unbreakable team. Emotional intelligence also expands into vision. Billionaires communicate vision with emotional impact. They paint pictures of the future so vividly that others can feel them. They spark excitement. They ignite curiosity. They awaken ambition. Their vision resonates emotionally because they speak from the heart, not just the mind. They believe deeply in what they are pursuing, and that belief becomes contagious. Leadership is not just about directing people. It is about giving them something to believe in. The most overlooked part of billionaire emotional intelligence is how they handle stress. They do not allow stress to control their energy. They use routines, mindfulness, journaling, exercise, reflection, and strategic rest to remain balanced. They value emotional health as much as financial health. They understand that decision-making suffers when a mind is cluttered, creativity suffers when emotions are heavy, and leadership suffers when the heart is overwhelmed. So they protect their emotional space with as much vigilance as their financial assets. Finally, emotional intelligence turns leadership into legacy. Billionaires build leaders, not followers. They use emotional intelligence to mentor, uplift, and empower others to grow. They create cultures that last long after they are gone. They build people who build the company, who build the mission, who build the future. Their influence expands not because they force it, but because they inspire it. In the end, emotional intelligence is the heartbeat of billionaire leadership. It is the force that shapes how they think, communicate, connect, decide, influence, and evolve. It is the invisible power behind their visible success. It is what allows them to move people, guide them, and create lasting change. Emotional intelligence is not just a skill, it is a superpower. And when you master it, leadership becomes natural, influence becomes effortless, and success becomes inevitable. Chapter 9: Lifestyle, Habits, and Daily Routines. From the outside, billionaires often appear superhuman. Individuals who move through life with a level of clarity, confidence, and consistent success that seems almost unrealistic. But when you look past the glamour, the jets, the wealth, and the media mythology, you begin to notice something surprisingly grounded. Billionaires do not simply stumble into wealth, nor do they rely purely on luck, talent, or intelligence. Their advantage lies deeper, woven into the fibers of their everyday existence, their lifestyle, their habits, and their daily routines. The billionaire mind is not something activated only during high-stakes meetings or billion-dollar decisions. It is embedded in how they wake up, how they approach each hour, how they manage their energy, and how they discipline their focus. The truth is simple. Extraordinary lives are built from ordinary days, repeated with extraordinary consistency. This chapter reveals how billionaires live those ordinary days, the rituals, the patterns, the invisible routines that shape every decision they make. You will discover how they engineer their mornings, structure their time, manage their emotions, design their environment, and align their entire lifestyle with their deepest goals. By the end, you will understand that the billionaire lifestyle isn't defined by money. It's defined by intentionality. The billionaire morning, where momentum begins. When the world sleeps, billionaires are already building momentum. Their mornings are not chaotic, rushed, or improvised. They are deliberately crafted. Most billionaires wake up early, not out of discipline alone, but out of strategy. They understand that the early hours of the day hold unusual power. Before the world demands their attention, before emails flood in, before decisions begin piling up, the morning becomes a sanctuary, a protected time for clarity, creativity, and personal mastery. Some begin with exercise, not because they want to look good on magazine covers, but because they know their body is the engine of their mind. Others meditate or journal, creating mental transparency before entering the battlefield of business. Many spend the first hour reading or learning, fueling their intellectual edge. This is not about strict rules. It is about creating a morning that aligns with their highest priorities. They don't wake up and react. They wake up and direct. The power of structured time. Unlike most people, billionaires do not rely on motivation. They rely on systems. A billionaire's day is not a random list of tasks. It is a meticulously designed blueprint. They know exactly what needs to be done, when and why. Their calendars are not passive schedules. They are strategic tools. Every hour has a purpose, not necessarily rigid, but intentional. You will notice that they break their schedule into rhythms. Deep work blocks for uninterrupted creation or strategy. Decision windows where they review, approve, and act. Meetings clustered to avoid decision fatigue. Learning periods to stay intellectually sharp. Rest intervals to manage energy instead of burning out. Their relationship with time is different because they understand something essential. Wealth is not the accumulation of money. It is the mastery of time. While most people protect their money but waste their hours, billionaires protect their hours more fiercely than anything else. Energy management, overtime management. Billionaires also know that the key to sustained success is not managing time. It is managing energy. They structure their day around their natural rhythms. They know when they are at peak mental performance. For some, it is early morning. For others, late at night. They align their most important tasks with these peak windows. But energy is not only about productivity. It is about what they allow into their lives. Billionaires are incredibly selective with people, conversations, and commitments because they understand that every interaction either fuels them or drains them. They guard their focus fiercely. They say no more than they say yes. They treat energy as a currency far more valuable than money. Nutrition, movement, and physical discipline. Billionaires tend to follow a consistent pattern when it comes to health. Not because they are obsessed with fitness, but because they are obsessed with showing up as their best self. Their bodies are high-performance machines that must withstand enormous responsibility, pressure, and decision-making. You'll find common habits such as clean diets with minimal processed foods, hydration routines, regular exercise, gym, sports, yoga, running, boxing, stretching and mobility work, sleep optimization. Their health is a business strategy. They know that a drained, foggy mind cannot make billion-dollar decisions. They treat their physical well-being as a fundamental pillar of success. Continuous learning, a daily non-negotiable. No matter how successful they become, billionaires position themselves as lifelong students. They read more. They study more. They surround themselves with people who challenge their thinking. Their curiosity is relentless. Learning is part of their daily routine, the way eating or sleeping is for others. It may come through reading, audio learning, high-level conversations, market research, or exploring new industries. But the point is the same. The mind must expand every day. Most people stop learning after school. Billionaires never do. This single habit alone separates the wealthy from the average. Environmental engineering. Designing spaces that support success. One of the most underestimated habits of billionaires is how intentionally they design their environment. Their homes, offices, digital spaces, and even their social circles are curated to keep them aligned with their highest goals. Their environment is free from chaos, clutter, and unnecessary distractions. They surround themselves with reminders of their mission, symbols of progress, and tools that accelerate their thinking. They design a world where the default outcome is productivity. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on environment. The rhythm of work, effort, intensity, and flow. While the world often imagines billionaires as working endlessly, the real picture is more nuanced. They work incredibly hard, but they don't simply grind without thought. They cycle between intense focus and intentional rest. They know when to push and when to pull back. They understand that burnout is not a badge of honor. It is a liability. Their days often include high-intensity, strategic sessions, deep work blocks, time spent thinking deeply, not just working busily, breaks to walk, reflect, or reset, creative exploration. Their routine balances productivity with recovery, so they remain sharp over decades, not months. The role of reflection and evening rituals. If their morning builds momentum, their evening builds wisdom. Billionaires reflect at the end of the day, not in a dramatic or overly philosophical way, but in a practical sense. They review what worked, what didn't, what decisions must be made tomorrow, and where their energy needs to go next. Some journal, some plan, some visualize, some simply sit in silence. The point is clarity. Every day ends with intention, not exhaustion. This clarity compounds into extraordinary long-term results. The lifestyle of purpose, not luxury, but alignment. While the world defines a billionaire lifestyle by yachts and private jets, the real billionaire lifestyle is defined by alignment. These people are not chasing pleasure. They are chasing purpose. Their habits reflect what they value: growth, impact, creation, and mastery. Luxury is a byproduct. Discipline is the foundation. Routines are the engine. Purpose is the compass. Their lives look extraordinary not because of money, but because of consistency. Final momentum. Designing your own billionaire lifestyle. The lesson in all this is simple but powerful. You do not need billions to adopt billionaire habits. You do not need wealth to build a wealthy lifestyle. You do not need privilege to create powerful routines. You only need intention, the willingness to design your life instead of drifting through it. Wake with purpose. Structure your days. Guard your energy. Feed your mind. Build supportive environments. Reflect daily. Live with discipline. This is how ordinary people engineer extraordinary lives. This is how momentum is built. This is how success compounds. This is the billionaire lifestyle at its core. Chapter 10. Becoming the billionaire of your own life. There comes a moment in every person's life when they stand at a crossroads, a silent, internal turning point where they choose not who they are, but who they are becoming. It is the moment when you stop waiting for opportunity and begin designing it, when you stop seeking validation and start creating value, when you stop comparing your life to others and start investing in the life you truly want. This is the moment where the journey toward becoming the billionaire of your own life truly begins. The billionaire of your life is not about having $1 billion. It is about living with such extraordinary intentionality, power, and purpose that your life becomes rich in ways far beyond money. It is about understanding that the most valuable assets you will ever own are your time, your mind, your health, your relationships, and your ability to transform vision into reality. Real wealth begins internally long before it shows up externally. And the people who live their lives like billionaires, even before they have a fraction of that wealth, inevitably rise to success. To become the billionaire of your own life, you must first master the inner world, because the outer world follows it. Billionaires think in decades, not days. They do not ask, "What can I get right now?" But what is the greatest version of my life I can build over the next 10 years? They do not chase quick wins or external applause. They chase alignment. They chase purpose. They chase mastery. And this mindset is what turns ordinary people into extraordinary forces. The first step in this transformation is adopting the billionaire identity, not externally, but internally. You must begin to see yourself as the architect of your destiny. Billionaires never wait for someone to rescue them, promote them, open a door for them, or validate them. They build their own door. They build their own table. They build their own opportunities. They understand that no one is coming to save them, and that awareness is their greatest power. When you embrace this truth, life stops happening to you and starts happening because of you. Becoming the billionaire of your own life also means developing a relationship with possibility. Most people shrink their dreams to fit their current circumstances. Billionaires expand their circumstances to fit their dreams. They imagine boldly, think fearlessly, and act decisively. They give themselves permission to desire more impact, more growth, more contribution, more meaning. They do not apologize for wanting an extraordinary life. They pursue it unapologetically, not because they feel entitled to it, but because they are willing to do the inner and outer work required to earn it. This transformation requires you to master your time. Billionaires understand that time is the ultimate currency. You can lose money and make it back. You can lose an opportunity and create another. But a wasted hour is gone forever. When you begin treating your time as something precious, as something worth protecting, everything about your life begins to shift. You stop giving your attention to distractions. You stop letting others interrupt your focus. You stop spending hours reacting to life and begin spending them building your future. You stop living by default and start living by design. A billionaire of life does not live on autopilot. They do not drift. They move with direction. Every day, they do something that compounds, something that strengthens their skills, sharpens their mind, builds their confidence, or moves them closer to their vision. They live intentionally, knowing that small daily improvements eventually create massive breakthroughs. Wealth, success, mastery, these things are not events. They are consequences of consistency. But becoming the billionaire of your own life is not only about discipline or productivity. It is also about developing emotional wealth, resilience, calmness, and emotional intelligence. Billionaires do not crumble under pressure. They develop the capacity to stay centered in chaos. They study their own triggers, their fears, their doubts, their insecurities, and they work through them instead of running from them. They take responsibility for their emotional world because they know that if they do not master their emotions will master them. You must learn to trust yourself, your intuition, your decisions, your abilities. You must learn to silence the noise of comparison, judgment, and fear. Billionaires understand that everything great they have ever built began with a moment of uncertainty. No one knew if their ideas would work. No one guaranteed them success. They simply believed in their vision enough to begin. To become the billionaire of your own life, you must cultivate this inner courage, the willingness to move forward even when the path is unclear, the faith to take the next step even when you cannot see the entire staircase. As you grow internally, your external circumstances begin to evolve. Your standards rise. Your boundaries sharpen. You stop tolerating mediocrity in your habits, your relationships, your goals, and even your self-talk. You begin to surround yourself with people who elevate you, challenge you, inspire you, and push you to be better. You stop participating in conversations that drain your energy or habits that shrink your potential. You build an environment that nourishes your future instead of anchoring your past. Becoming the billionaire of your own life also means embracing responsibility for your outcomes. You stop blaming the economy, your background, your upbringing, or your circumstances. You understand that every disadvantage can be turned into an advantage. Every challenge can become training. Every failure can become wisdom. Billionaire thinkers do not fear mistakes. They extract value from them. They do not fear risks. They calculate them. They do not fear setbacks. They outgrow them. This resilience is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Then comes the deeper transformation, the shift from success to significance. When you become the billionaire of your own life, you are no longer driven only by what you can achieve. You are driven by what you can contribute. You start thinking about impact, how your life can elevate others, how your work can solve real problems, how your journey can inspire someone else to rise. True wealth is not measured by what you accumulate, but by what you give, what you create, what you unlock within yourself and others. And finally, becoming the billionaire of your own life means committing to growth forever. There is no finish line. There is only expansion. Billionaires do not retire from growth. They invest in their mind, their body, their vision, and their purpose as if these were their most valuable assets, because they are. You too must adopt this mindset, that your journey is ongoing, your evolution is endless, and your potential is still unfolding. To become the billionaire of your own life is to realize that you are the CEO of your destiny, the architect of your identity, the investor of your time, and the protector of your dreams. It means stepping into your power fully, living with purpose fearlessly, and designing a life so rich in meaning, discipline, joy, and impact that wealth becomes a natural side effect, not the goal. This is the life you are capable of. This is the person you can become. The billionaire of your own life already exists within you, waiting for you to step forward, claim your power, elevate your standards, and build a future worthy of your potential.